We are live.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you really enjoyed our keynote talk. I certainly did. I thought it was fantastic, and I'm extremely excited and motivated to hear the next group. We have 5 wonderful speakers. They're very short talks, so in case we run out of time, I hope that you all are on our Discord channel, on the Discord channel that says short talks, where you can address your questions to each of the speakers. So I will try to also make sure that we keep time. So to all of the speakers, I just want you to know that you will have 7 minutes for your talk. So I will give like a 2-minute chat coming up on Zoom and at 1 minute, and then I will unmute myself when the time is up and just let you know so you can finish up. So we hopefully will have time for some questions. And with that said, I am really excited to introduce our first speaker, Sabia Sheikh. She's talking about hashtag science, citizen science, social media enabled conversation, monitoring of carnivores across India. She is a research associate at the Wildlife Conservation Society and is currently working on behavioral ecology of doles. And she recently became part of the Wild Canids India Citizen Science Project, and her research interests lie in animal behavior, wildlife health, and conservation science. So Sabia, please take it away. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shannon. I'm just going to share my screen now. Is my presentation visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so hi everyone. I will be presenting this talk titled hashtag science. Social media enables citizen scientists and social media enable the conservation of carnivores across India on behalf of the Wild Canids India project team. So I will start by giving an introduction to the project, followed by an insight into our journey so far and future directions of the project. The Wild Canids India project was launched in 2018 with the goal to map, track, and monitor wild canids and striped hyenas of India. India has a great diversity of wild canids that occur in a range of habitats, including different types of forests, grasslands, agricultural fields, urban settlements, and so on. So far, canids have generally been quite underrepresented in terms of research and conservation focus. For example, IUCN assessments for some of the species and subspecies of Indian canids do not even exist. This project was focused on 8 species and subspecies of wild canids in India: dholes, golden jackals, Indian wolf, Tibetan wolf, Indian fox, red fox, desert fox, and Tibetan fox. Striped hyenas were also included in the project because of the similarities of hyenas to wild canids in their natural history, ecological requirement, and conservation issues. The objectives of this project were to create recent countrywide distribution maps for focal species, examine ecological, social, and biogeographical factors associated with distribution, identify the key threats faced by the focal species, and prioritize areas for conservation action for wild canid and hyenas in India. When the project was launched, data was collected in 4 phases. The first phase focused on collecting sighting data from citizen scientists using a survey form hosted on our website for 3 months. We invited citizen scientists to submit their sightings by sending email blasts to potential respondents and daily and weekly social media posts. During this phase, relevant data was also obtained from other citizen science platforms such as iNaturalist, India Biodiversity Portal, and Mammals of India. Our survey period was from January 2015 to December 2018. We collected data from 2015 onwards because we wanted to make recent distribution maps. Data collected from this phase was downloaded weekly by a member of the team in a CSV format and validated based on the information provided. This data was only available to view for team members. In the second phase of data collection, exhaustive internet searches were conducted for records of focal species on social media platforms, nature and wildlife photo repositories, and reliable blogs. During the third phase, a systematic literature review was undertaken to search through published scientific articles, unpublished theses, and Forest Department reports. Along with presence records, estimates from camera trap studies, occupancy studies, and interview-based surveys were also recorded. In the fourth phase of data collection, ancillary information associated with canid and hyena occurrence, such as prey species, habitat, domestic and feral dog numbers, infrastructure, livestock, population, and human population was also collected from government records, remotely sensed data, IUCN assessments, and published scientific literature. Overall, we collated 4,437 presence records, out of which over 2,500 were directly contributed by citizen scientists. The project relied on a combination of data collection techniques, with citizen science being one of them. Because of all this ancillary information we were collecting along with presence records to meet our objectives, we decided to have our own standalone platform rather than integrating this project into an existing citizen science platform. We used an occupancy modeling framework that accounted for partial detectability to map distribution patterns that you can see in these maps. For this analysis, each administrative subunit, a taluka, was considered as a spatial unit. These are the most updated maps for all of these species, and for some of these species, they're even like the first distribution maps. We also built a set of candidate occupancy models with singular and additive covariates for each species. Through this analysis, we discovered that golden jackals were the most widely distributed species across the country, while Tibetan wolves were the most range-restricted species. We also worked with field experts and conservationists to create India-specific conservation scorecards for each of the focal species by incorporating their protection status, population trend, distribution extent, ecological factors, human interactions, and association with domestic and feral dogs. A score was given for each of these categories. Area of occupancy had the highest weightage, followed by protection status and expert responses to threats, on threats. This was because area of occupancy was quantitatively estimated metric. The final conservation score was obtained by summing across all categories. A higher score implied a less threatened status, while a lower score implied a higher threatened status. Indian fox and striped hyena had the lowest conservation score among the species that were assessed. We also used carnivore distribution and diversity indices, extent of important habitats in each subdistrict, human poverty index, and projected human growth to identify areas of high and low conservation values by optimizing a trade-off between ecological attributes and human population poverty levels. We chose subdistricts that accounted for the top 30% priority scores as the most important areas for conserving wild canids, hyenas, and their habitats. Protected areas covered around 26% of these habitats within these priority areas. Our analysis also revealed that Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka, and Chhattisgarh have the highest potential and likelihood of success in conserving these priority areas in their states, based on the state's budgetary allocation for forests and wildlife sectors. We also assessed the overlap between infrastructure projects that were implemented or commissioned during the survey period with these priority areas for canid conservation, and found a 40% overlap in these projects in these important priority conservation areas. Outputs of the project included 2 peer-reviewed articles, 15 articles in popular media. Our work also solicited 10 blog articles by citizen scientists that were hosted on our website, and our work was featured in 12 media outlets. Overall, the Wild Canids India project has created a decentralized approach involving citizen scientists for conservation monitoring of a guild of carnivores and their habitats at the country-wise level. I just wanted to add here that despite our many successes, we might be limited in our reach because currently English is our only language of communication. The project is also managed by a team of voluntary researchers, which limits us in our ability to do any on-ground outreach to increase participation and dissemination of our findings to a non-digital audience at the moment. For future directions, the project has been rebooted this year. We started phase 1 of data collection through citizen science in October this year, and it is still ongoing. With the data that we collect now, we are aiming to update our previous assessments and to examine changes in distribution of the focal carnivores. We have also expanded our social media reach by creating Instagram accounts to increase public engagement with citizen scientists and to disseminate information about our previous findings and the ecology and conservation of wild canids and striped hyenas. Our other goals include integrating results with regional and national conservation policy and exploring opportunities for collaboration with citizen scientist groups. Lastly, if you've seen any wild canids or striped hyenas in India recently, please do go on our website and contribute your sightings. Thank you.
It was a really fantastic talk, and thank you, Sabia, for keeping online. So we do have one question coming in. I had a question, but I will always defer to our audience. Nitana wants to know, are these citizen science projects helpful in finding ways to figure out mitigation strategies for issues like roadkills, negative human and animal interactions, and free-ranging dogs?
So these citizen science projects definitely help us identify where these things are happening, because when people contribute data, we have information about like spatially where this is happening. And while we can make reports and forward them to forest departments and help mitigate these threats as well, I suppose. So yeah, I feel like they can definitely help in identifying where these things are happening, and yeah.
Yeah, and I'll just ask a quick question. Are you able to overlay? I loved your maps, they were fantastic. Are you able to overlay your data onto other geographical data so it might help you understand, like, as I know where you're coming from, and you do a lot with human animal conflict issues. So are you able to overlay that with demographic data to maybe do some predictive studies on potential future overlap?
So for part of the earlier paper, there was we did extract information for when we identify these canid conservation priority areas. We took human population and predicted like human population growth into account as like a negative like a cost to canid conservation, and identified like areas for prioritization of conservation based on like an optimal level of ecological like traits that an area had, including habitat and like prey base, versus if an area had high poverty level or high human population growth predicted, there was probably an area that was better suited for more economic growth because that area needs it. So we identified those areas by looking at demography, human population demography and stuff like that as well.
Okay. Thanks so much, Sabia. It was a fantastic talk. So if you have any more questions, please ask Sabia in Discord and she can answer you there in writing. So thank you so much. We have to move on to our next speaker, who is Shaunak Modi. He's going to talk about marine life of Mumbai, 5 years and 500 species later. He is an ecologist based out of Mumbai, and his work has primarily been on documenting the intertidal marine biodiversity in the metropolitan region of Mumbai. And earlier this year, he and his team conducted a rapid assessment study to understand space use patterns of the Indian Ocean humpback dolphins in the Bay Area of Back Bay area of Mumbai. And he's also been involved in the Correspondence Standing Network, and he is currently the director of the Coastal Conservation Foundation and leads the Marine Life of Mumbai and Marine Life of Goa projects. Thank you so much for being with us, Shaunak, and I'll let you take it away.
Thank you, Shannon. I'll just stop my video. Good morning, everybody. I'm here to talk about Marine Life of Mumbai. It's a citizen science program that has been running in Mumbai for the past 5 years, and we've been documenting the intertidal marine biodiversity of the city. So, since we're short on time, I'll just head to the next slide. Starting on Marine Life of Mumbai started with a simple idea to familiarize the people of the city to the marine biodiversity through shore walks, which are essentially guided nature trails during low tides. Given the unfamiliar habitat, we realized that there might be a steep learning curve for a new person, and so decided to leverage the social media to familiarize people with the species inhabiting Mumbai's intertidal zone. Some of the challenges that we faced when we started out: the habitat and its inhabitants were understudied. There were very few local resources to identify the biodiversity we were documenting. The intertidal zone can be a vast area to explore. Like Mumbai's coastline is about 149 kilometers long, and it opens up a few kilometers at low tide. The part of the shore most rich in biodiversity opens up only during the lowest tides of the month, which lasts about 4 to 5 days. And it was difficult for people to commit the time needed to document this habitat. Our solution to that: since a lot of us in the collective were nature photographers, we started taking macro photos to increase the chances of identification. Instead of creating a standalone biodiversity database, we decided to contribute to an established biodiversity platform, for which we chose iNaturalist. We encouraged enthusiasts to explore the shores by themselves, helping them to identify hundreds of observations that were uploaded to the MLOM project on iNaturalist. So far, MLOM's reach MLOM has been able to reach more than 20,000 people, both online and offline. Through our online we've done more than 200 shore walks across 20 shores. We've had 3 editions of our annual marine themed festival Coastwise that we co-organize with the Mangrove Foundation and WWF India. We've conducted awareness sessions in more than 50 schools and colleges and meetups with researchers where we invite them to talk about their work in the marine space. And we've written 220 informative posts on social media about the flora and fauna in Mumbai's intertidal. In terms of data collection, 101 people have contributed a total of 6,230 observations to the MLOM project on iNaturalist, of which 547 species have been identified, with many more that are possibly new to science. Like this slug that I photographed a few days ago, which we now know is an undescribed species. The Mumbai Coastal Road Project. Between 2018 and 2021, a 10-kilometer long stretch of the intertidal zone started being landfilled to build the Mumbai Coastal Road Project. Shows that we had regularly surveyed no longer existed, but there were lessons to be learned from this. Our open access model was validated when petitioners against the coastal road accessed our data and used it to show lapses in the EIA. In the absence of baseline data, this sufficed. Its accuracy was questioned in court. We realized that in the longer term, there was a need to publish our data, and it had to be peer reviewed. Data was one half. We needed much more outreach to get to a more diverse audience. And lastly, the need for a long-term monitoring program. The way ahead. We're scaling up our outreach by introducing new field activities such as walks at fish landing centers and in mangroves. Largely, our walks have been on sandy and rocky shores so far. We are publishing pocket guides for the more common species in both English and regional languages, as well as working with teachers to integrate citizen science and marine life knowledge in different capacities for students. We've extended our documentation to more than 20 shores in the Mumbai metropolitan region. We are publishing biodiversity checklists from our existing data. And we've started a long-term monitoring program with an aim to provide open access, scientifically sound long-term data sets. And along with our work in Mumbai, also delighted to inform you that earlier this year, we started Marine Life of Goa. The project is largely based on the MLOM model and will be run by a team based in Goa. So this was, there was not too much we could do during the lockdown, so there aren't too many updates, but this is what we have so far.
Thank you so much, Shaunak. This was a really interesting talk. And, I did my postdoc in marine biology, and I have a fantastic postdoc in my lab right now doing sponges. So one of the things I know is it's really difficult to identify a lot of marine species because they are so understudied compared to a lot of our land organisms. So how do you go about, it was not clear to me how you go about identification. And because I know that at least for sponges, we actually need molecular tools to do the really clear identification of the species.
Yes. So our identifications are limited to those species which can be visually ID'd. We've done an extensive literature review first from the city, then from the state, and then from the west coast of India. We also depend on the global community on iNaturalist to help us with IDs. That in fact has been the primary source for a lot of taxa. But again, we have been able to ID about 500 odd species, but there are many more that we still can't do. And sponges are one of them because you need to look at the spicules. So there is no way we do that because we don't collect the animals. So those remain unidentified so far.
Yeah, that was my question. But I hope that you have these compiled because, the idea is, of course, we want to expand marine work in India. So, I think this is a super rich source for marine scientists to be able to maybe help you identify in the future. Nishan wants to know if there's a place where these data are available. Like, can you find? Do you have a website? And if so, could you hopefully post it on Discord so we can all see it?
Sure. So we do have a website, but our entire database lies on iNaturalist. So I'll share links to that project as well.
Okay, that's fantastic. I am not sure if we have any more questions right now, but I think there's people typing. I see people typing, so I think there's going to be a question coming up very soon. But I think we will move on to the next speaker for right now. But Shaunak, that was a fantastic talk, and yay for marine life. I'm also a big fan. So thank you so much for all the work that you do.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Shaunak. Okay, so our next speaker is Sreeparna Dutta, and the title of her talk is a mobile application aiding in tracking the freshwater turtles and tortoises of India. Sreeparna is a project biologist at the Turtle Survival Alliance India program at WCF, and she works on the Tarai Arc landscape and understanding the freshwater turtle population in the Sanju River. And she also provides tech support and helps in mapping and GIS. And she's been working with citizen science initiative called the Indian Turtle Conservation Action. So I'm super excited to hear about turtles. So Sreeparna, thank you so much for joining us, and I'll let you go ahead.
Thank you so much, Shannon, for the introduction. I am in field right now, so I will be presenting from the car. Sorry about that. So I will quickly share my screen. Please let me know if it's visible. Is my screen visible?
It is visible, yes.
Yeah. Full screen also visible, right?
It is, yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, hi, I'm Sreeparna from Tortoises Survival Alliance India. Basically, today I'm going to talk about an application that was developed solely for the freshwater turtle and tortoises of India. And before going deep into my talk, I would like to thank the conference committee for giving me this opportunity to talk today. So, before talking about this initiative, I just want to quickly talk about the freshwater turtle diversity. So India is a diverse country, and also India is a global biodiversity hotspot for turtles, as India gives home to 34 species of turtles, which includes 24 species of freshwater turtle, 5 species of tortoises, and 5 species of marine turtles. However, these magnificent species are under great threat, and as here you can see, over 80% are currently listed in the IUCN Red List, in the threatened category of IUCN Red List, of which 27% are already listed as critically endangered and 38% as endangered. Along with this, there is a severe dearth of knowledge. So basically speaking about that, I also, before starting my research in turtles, I also didn't knew about that India gives home to 29 species of freshwater turtles. I just knew there are turtles in India, and that's also majorly I had an idea about sea turtles. However, as I started working, I came to know about all these magnificent species, and I still believe there is a various dearth of knowledge still existing among citizens of India about this turtle species, their ecological role, and the various threats they are facing in this current scenario. And as we all know, currently all the freshwater turtle species are threatened due to illegal trade, habitat destruction, like sand mining, dams, and also for meat consumption. So freshwater turtles plays a very important role in the ecological system, as they act as seed dispersal, as they act as a scavenger of the river. However, their roles are still undetermined and many people doesn't know. So there were various conservation activities been going on for freshwater turtles since past like 20 to 30 years, but uh, in 2011, where a recommendation was given by the National Strategic Turtle Planning meeting in Delhi, that a citizen science initiative needs to be started for freshwater turtles also, so that we can address this knowledge gap in India. And following that thing, and also following the Indian Bird Conservation Action Network formed by BNHS, we also initiated this Indian Turtle Conservation Action Network in 2018. So if we talk about the Indian Turtle Conservation Action Network, it has 3 tools where we reach to all the citizens of India using Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, where I think right currently from various age groups or people are already connected. We also have deputed state coordinators and volunteers who conduct various educational and awareness programs in their state, schools, various colleges, and also in villages. And a major part of this initiative is the mobile-based application and a website which is called Kurma, and website is known as the indianturtles.in. So along with this knowledge gap on freshwater turtles ecology identification, there is another one issue currently we are facing, like as you can see the figures here, this many turtles in the last 10 years has been already been confiscated and illegal trade, and many of the turtles have not been confiscated. And as we assume, over 10,000 turtles are confiscated every year. However, the frontline forest staff and the enforcement agencies face a major issue for identification, which really impacts the release of their turtles in their original habitat also. So there is an identification error is happening, and also there is a lack of record and database being maintained for these confiscated turtles. So to address this issue and also to address the lack of knowledge between citizens, we wanted to launch an application, and in 2018 Kurma was launched. Kurma Tracking Indian Turtle, this is the whole name of the application, and this was launched in 2018. Why Kurma? We thought to connect with all the citizens of India, and as India is culturally and religiously also varied, and to quickly connect with everyone, we kept the name Kurma. As we all know, Kurma is the third avatar of Lord Vishnu, and so we thought this name would be the most appropriate to keep. So this Kurma application has 3 major options, which is a digital field guide. This can be used by researchers, common citizens, and also the enforcement agencies, where all natural history information has been given along with their Wildlife Protection Act status, CITES appendices, and IUCN, so that enforcement agencies can quickly see and make their cases accordingly. Their scientific name, local name are also been given there, so that local people can quickly identify the turtle which they are seeing. Next important option is the report a turtle facility, through which people can observe any turtle sighting. It can be a wild sighting, or it can be in someone's home, or it can be in temples. So everyone can report the turtle using this facility. And also we have an option where we have included at least 90 assistance facility in this application, which is Google enhanced, and anyone can use this option to visit a nearest rescue center, because many a times what happens, turtle crosses the road, and sometimes cars move on it, and during that time they need some rescue, and people can use this option in this application to send those turtles to these rescue facilities also. So currently, starting from 2020, when the application was launched till now, we have over 3,000 users, and we have received observational record of at least 23 species of turtles till now. Here I have shown a graph of all the major species we have received records of. Here you can see the most records are for the common species, which can be seen easily in our localities and wetlands and villages, which is Lishmish punctata, that is Indian flat-shell turtle, followed by Indian roof turtle, Punctura tentoria. We have also received information of few rare species, which is considered as critically endangered, as we can see here, like Punctura schlittensis, Manuria impresa, Batagut dhongoka. Few states are really doing good job in reporting observational and rescue records. For example, like Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, West Bengal. Here we can see the left one is the observational chart, and the right one is the rescue chart. I also think in this few states, conservation activities are also going on, and that has also put on some effect in these states. So the people of these states are more or less aware about turtles, and they are also helping this whole initiative by reporting their sightings. But still, other states are also through the through reach of Facebook and other social media, other people of states are also reporting through this application. So another major
Shreeparna,
yeah.
we're out of time, so maybe could you wrap up quickly? Thank
just
you.
2 slide. So another important thing, we are getting information about the observational and rescue reports from various situations, like here we can see from personal holdings, from temples, and from wild. And also we are getting rescue records from illegal trade, commercial markets, and various other situations like roadkill or any nest, predator nest. All types of information we are getting from this application right now. Another major thing which I told earlier, that the enforcement agencies, we have included this application in their monitoring and enforcement regime, where they are currently using this application for identification, and also they are recording their confiscation cases in this application. And till now we have already trained over 500 frontline forest staff of major trade sensitive areas. In the future, we are in this application is already giving us important information about critical habitats, and we are already being and in the future we will be developing, and we will make a different web page for the enforcement agency, so that we get cumulative information about the whole confiscation of turtle that is being going on in India. The major setback we are facing right now, because to maintain the website and the application, we need a recurring financial implication, and the continuous engagement of citizens is also a great task in this initiative. However, we are moving forward in a quite a good pace, and we think this initiative will lead to will help us getting us lot of information about freshwater turtle and tortoises of India. Thank you so much, and I would like to thank all the citizens of India, Turtle Survival Alliance India, WCS India, Leopard Tech Lab, and Indian Turtle Conservation Action Team, and Jose Luis for this initiative. Thank you so much. If you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Shreeparna. Actually, there are quite a few questions you have already in the Discord. I hope you can go to those about your app and the great app you've created, and also some invasive species questions. But unfortunately, we're out of time, so I have to move on to the next speaker. I'm sorry, I have to be such a hard moderator for this session. But thank you for the fantastic talk.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So we will move on to the next speaker. That's Sneha Darvodkar. She will be talking about freshwater turtles and tortoises as well. And she's also the co-founder of the Freshwater Turtles and Tortoises of India, and a PhD student at Oklahoma State. She has work experience in conservation, education, and research, and more than a decade of experience working on the herpetofauna of India, especially freshwater turtles and tortoises, which we'll talk about today. And for her PhD, she's studying the phylogenomics and phylogeography of endemic soft-shelled turtles of India. So Sneha, thank you so much for being with us, and we're so happy to hear from you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm going to try and cover the time, so sorry if I rush. Hi everyone, my name is Sneha Darvodkar. I am co-founder of Freshwater Turtles and Tortoises of India, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about turtles. So I hope it's not very repetitive for you. So we started, Anuja and I, we founded the FTTI in 2016. We both worked up until that point, worked on freshwater turtles for some time, and would share our field anecdotes, and would the recurring theme of our discussions would always end up to, we don't have enough information, we don't know enough about turtles and tortoises and know where to go. So we started this group on the India Biodiversity Portal, which is India's biggest open access repository of information, biodiversity information. It has over 1.5 million observations, and there is also information on species and such. So we thought this is a perfect platform to launch our citizen science program. And it began as an attempt to document and map the freshwater turtles of India, because we don't know about its distribution. So since the beginning of the group in 2016, we have dedicated users. As of today, our dedicated users are like 338. I'm sorry about the 778 observations. I took screenshot earlier than I wrote the number. So as of today, we have 778 observations, and for sensitive species such as Indian star tortoises, Indian flapshell turtles, the geographic information is obfuscated so that people cannot find the location of species that's been observed. So what happens with India Biodiversity Portal, our group, is when people upload their observations, it is automatically saved as a part of this group. And in this group, we have the pages for dedicated species pages for each of the turtles. We founded this group in 2016, but we were riding the social media wave, and we started a dedicated outreach program in 2019. And we started social media handles for FTDI on like various social media channels such as Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And we started putting out content such as very basic content, such as which are the species found in the country, how to differentiate between a turtle and a tortoise, how to identify between a hard shell and a soft shell turtle. And interestingly, we started getting a lot of interactions. A lot of people reached out to us, and it was a very good move. Anuja and I, we have been very lucky to have met so many good people through this initiative. And it has definitely helped. The feedback from people have helped us putting more effort into the species pages on the India Biodiversity Portal. And in 2020, we started a dedicated, like IBP helped us open a dedicated FTTI web app for the portal, in which you can look at the species pages as well as upload observations directly from the app. So what we started we also started doing a dedicated turtle spotting week every month of May, because 23rd May is the World Turtle Day. So we dedicated the whole month in generating more content, generating more outreach material. And what started happening is we started getting more and more information, more and more observations. So from 2021 and onwards, we have focused our efforts on red-eared sliders. I saw a question in the chat on Discord about red-eared sliders by Farida. I hope this sort of answers your question. So red-eared sliders are invasive species in India, and they're native to southern US and some parts of Mexico. And they became invasive in India, and because of the pet trade. And it's becoming a problem to the point where a lot of urban lakes are now home to red-eared sliders more than the Indian flapshells or the black pond turtles, which used to be common species, native species. So we have focused our efforts on improving observations on red-eared sliders. So our turtle spotting week focuses mainly on red-eared sliders. So what I did was that I downloaded the data on red-eared sliders, and I analyzed some of the I created a distribution modeling for red-eared sliders based on the observations. And this is the current prediction of the red-eared sliders in the country of the range. And you can see green is where the density is higher. And most of these spots fall on in the urban areas. And this is merely range prediction, not complete. Like I need to test the model because our observations are very limited so far. So as more and more users contribute to the observation, the model becomes more robust. Some of the observations from various parts of the country, I'm not going to go into this. This was presented in the earlier citizen science conference. And because we are short of time, I'm going to skip this. So summary is that the outreach definitely improved our observations, and I'm hoping that it will add to the more documentation on radiate sliders. Scope for the future is we need to do a lot more awareness campaigns specifically focused on radiate sliders and other commonly occurring freshwater turtles, and tie up with the regional partners for better outreach. I need to thank so many people who have been with us throughout and who've been a great support for us. And these are all the names. And Akshata for dealing with the time difference. I was in the field and she had to manage with it. So thank you so much, and thank you everyone. I am happy to take questions if you have any, and if I have time.
You do have a couple of minutes. Thank you so much, Neha, for keeping so nicely in time. I have a burning question. I also had actually, after putting these two talks together, it was quite fun. I mean, this is why we're doing this conference, right? So is there any way of kind of working with maybe what Sreeparna is doing, what they're doing, and maybe see if you can collaborate between the two? Because there, I see that there's a lot of connection between the two of you, and there might be actually other projects around. Maybe smaller ones or regional ones. So just a question, actually, it's also a question to Sreeparna as well.
Sure, yeah, we can think about it and look into the possibilities of that. And there is so much to be done on freshwater turtles that even if there are more such initiatives, it's always going to be less. So yeah, pretty sure like every single drop in the ocean counts. So freshwater turtles, as Sreeparna mentioned, are still threatened, and we need to start working on getting information on them. So, yeah.
Yeah, thanks so much. I think it was really fantastic. I do have one more quick question on feeding turtles. Is it harmful to feed turtles?
Yes, definitely, depending on, so I'm assuming this question is about feeding turtles in urban ponds. So yes, definitely, because the foods that we eat, a lot of people feed bread or like, dough, rolled dough, kneaded dough. And that is not the diet of turtles, and that creates issues in terms of digestion and stuff. Like we've seen metabolic problems in captive turtles, which are fed on such things. So I'm assuming the same things apply to the wild as well. And obviously, like we know in general, like feeding wildlife is not a good idea, so should be avoided.
Thank you so much, Neha. Thanks for a fabulous talk. And it was nice to have two turtle talks back to back, actually. So thank you. So I think we'll move on to our final speaker for the session. This was a great session. So please do thank the speakers, talk to them, have more conversations on Discord. This is going to be, our server is going to be open for, I think, the foreseeable future. So please do feel free to reach out to them. Maybe Sneha and Sreeparna can also coordinate their efforts on our channel as well. So our final speaker for today is Rhea George. It's going to be talking about Divers for Diversity Marine Citizen Science in India. After graduating, Rhea joined the Dachshund as the outreach coordinator for the Marine Flagships program, and her association with Dachshund started during an internship assisting with lab activities for the Sea Snake program. And so far, her work has involved managing content for websites like Sea Turtles of India, developing and curating social media content, and copy editing reports and other outreach materials. So thank you so much, Rhea, and we'll listen to your presentation now.
Hi, good morning. My name is Rhea, and I work as the outreach coordinator for the Marine Flagships program at Dachshund Foundation. And I'm here today, so I'm just going to play that for you now.
Yes. I think we can't hear the sound. So.
Rhea, can you, we have your pre-recorded video. So Amit, can you please play that for Rhea?
Hi, good morning. My name is Rhea and I work as the outreach coordinator for the Marine Flagships program at Dakshin Foundation. And I'm here today to talk to you about Reeflog and present some of the work we've done and some of our future plans on behalf of Sneha and the rest of the team. So just a bit about why Reeflog was first created. As we all know, the marine environment is sensitive and subjected to anthropological changes and activities such as climate change, pollution, and overfishing. As a result, it's often difficult to assess the effects of these on marine ecosystems, and monitoring them is time-consuming and expensive. Thus, a need was recognized to identify a better system to monitor and assimilate data for marine ecosystems, and Reeflog was born. Reeflog is a marine citizen science initiative that engages with scuba divers across the mainland and in the islands. It was first started in the Andaman Islands in 2016 and then brought to the mainland in 2021. Some of the primary goals of Reeflog are to increase ocean literacy, collect data on marine populations, promote environmental education and awareness, and to encourage responsible tourism. So the images you see on your screen are of Reeflog slates. These are the slates that divers take with them underwater, and they fill out with a pencil based on the species that they encounter. Considering that there is very limited time available on a dive and there are a variety of species they could encounter, we use structured surveys in order to let people record data and information about species. So we've narrowed it down to 12 species of invertebrates and 12 fish, depending on the region. These particular slates are for the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. And the 12 species are decided based on things like whether they are indicator species for fishing, overfishing, for pollution, how abundant they are, how relatively easy they can be to identify, and so forth. And these slates are often developed with marine biologists and divers in consultation. So the journey so far has been the development of survey slates for the Andaman and Nicobar Islands for both fish and invertebrates, and for parts of Tamil Nadu, only fish slates have been developed so far. We've also gotten a lot of feedback and therefore refined the slates a lot after the divers have tested them out underwater. There's been development of educational material in the form of training manuals and dive protocols so that everyone's safety is ensured while they do a Reeflog dive. And finally, we have also created and published the Reeflog website and data portal where people can log in and submit their data. So as I said, the first round of slates was sent to professionals who tested them underwater and provided feedback. Based on this, the slates were redesigned. So some of the feedback we received, for example, was on the left, if you can see, the slate was originally like sort of square shaped, and now it's a more horizontal shape. We have also gotten rid of the scale and tried to use hand symbols to make it easier for divers to communicate underwater. We have also tried to address the issue of colors fading with depth by using slightly brighter and more fluorescent colors. So just to summarize, when species are being selected, we get feedback from experienced divers, particularly in the cases of new locations. The durability of the slate is tested out in field by the divers, and experienced divers also help to frame the safety protocols for Reeflog dives. The primary goal for our future plans is that we strengthen networks. So we're looking to establish and expand relationships with dive centers and professionals. This is also in areas where we currently work, so in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands and parts of Tamil Nadu and the East Coast. We have also tried to, we are also in talks with the development team to improve the use of the database and the data portal So we want to make the upload of the data a lot easier, and we also want to present the data in a much more visually appealing and interesting manner for anyone who's interested. Raw data will also be provided at written request to the program team. We also hope to conduct workshops for the usage of the portal as well as the training and protocol manuals so that more divers can be briefed. One of the biggest changes we made is that earlier we used to only target professional divers, but now we have also started targeting recreational divers. And so these workshops would be quite helpful for them as well. And finally, we are hoping to expand our regions to the West Coast. In the West Coast, diving primarily takes place in Goa, Kerala, Karnataka. And so we are hoping to move to these areas as well. And we also want to go to the Lakshadweep Islands. And identification of species and the development of survey states for these will also begin soon. Finally, we have a lot of outreach plans coming up. First, we would like to target social media, and Instagram is the platform of choice. We want to create posts that highlight the various species encountered by divers in a slightly fun manner. So if you see the image on the right is a sneak peek of an Instagram post that we hope to put out. And if you're a Pokemon fan, I hope you appreciate and understand the reference. The other thing that we would like to do is also capture experiences of divers who go on reef log dives, maybe get them to submit pictures and images, and therefore build sort of an online community through that. And we also hope to obviously put up program updates and interactions with resource persons through the Instagram handle as well. We also hope to create a reef log dive kit, which would consist of things like the protocol manual, the training manual, and fun stuff like stickers and t-shirts and those kinds of things. And we also want to put out more publications in the form of popular articles, blogs, etc., to get the word of reef log out better. So yeah, in 2023, we hope to further strengthen and expand reef log, as I mentioned. And in case you didn't guess what fish it is a red-tailed butterfly fish. Thank you.
Hi, Rhea. That was a fantastic talk. I especially love how you showed the process of getting this recording underwater, and you talked about all the difficulties with that. I thought that was particularly fascinating, and something that I think that you don't think about how hard that actually is to do that. So we don't have time for a lot of questions, but I do have one question that from Nishant, who wants to know if how you do the awareness with the recreational divers, and if you've seen any change in their attitudes regarding diversity after engaging in some of these activities that you've been promoting.
Okay, so Suneha is also on call, and she's the previous reef log coordinator, and so she might be a little better equipped to answer this question as she is the diver. So I'm going to give it on to her.
Thanks, Rhea, and excellent talk. Thank you for having me here as well. And thanks, Shannon, for the question. So we have primarily been engaging not with a large-scale diving community. We've only been engaging with dive professionals as of now to sort of test the slates and get feedback from how the data collection methodology is working. So as of now, the dive professionals are already a little bit more aware than a recreational diver. Going forward, we do plan on engaging, again, more of the dive professionals, because we hope to have this process work without us intervening too much with the recreational divers themselves. We do engage with the end target audience, which are the recreational divers, through online and offline education and outreach activities, but not directly have a day-to-day sort of interaction with them. The future will tell us how effective the program is, and hopefully next year we'll be here talking about that.
Yeah, thanks so much. It's fabulous work you're doing. So I want to thank you very much for both of you for being here. There's more questions on Discord, so I hope you can join there. And I hope our audience will continue to ask questions to the speakers. With that, I must unfortunately, I feel, because I really would love to talk to everybody more, I have to close this fabulous session. I want to thank all of our 5 speakers for their really, really fascinating talks. Thank you so much for participating in this conference. It's been really, really wonderful to hear the amazing work you're doing. So thank you to all 5 of our speakers. It was really fun. It was fun for me to moderate this session. So with that, I actually am going to move right on to the release of our toolkit. So we have Thomas and Priya here to introduce our toolkit. So that we've actually been constituting over the past couple of years a working group on citizen science data, and the goal of this was to identify major aspects related to data on which project proponents should ideally have, clear procedures and policies. So the working group that Thomas is going to talk about has surveyed existing practices and standards and described various options that projects could adopt, and with some guidance about the benefits and costs of them. And you can read about the toolkit in our Lounge channel. So you can go to the Lounge channel and read about this. And the toolkit is for citizen science practitioners like everyone who's part of this conference, and hopefully can help them make some better, more informed decisions on various aspects of using data. So Thomas, thank you so much for being part of this working group and all the hard work you've done. It's been a fabulous experience to read and see the process going forward. I'd love to hear some thoughts from you about the toolkit.
Sorry.
No problem, no problem. I saw your screen too. You were sharing the screen, so that was fine. So thanks.
I couldn't unmute myself. Okay, let me just share it again. First of all, thanks, Shannon, for introducing us. And it's really been a pleasure working on this data in citizen science toolkit. Just to set the context, we kind of started in April last year, in 2021, as a result of prior discussions on this very same conference about the need to have more clarity on concepts such as data and also on diversity and inclusion in citizen science. And as a result of this, and through the National Mission on Biodiversity and the Biodiversity Collaborative, we kind of were asked to participate in this working group to try and formulate a white paper essentially on data and its practices in citizen science in the context of India. And we deliberated over this for well over a year, I must say. And we were really fortunate to kind of have a very good working group, which comprised of several individuals, which as you can see in this in the working group, it comprised of me, myself, Priya, who works with wild canids, Balu, who works in the French Institute and has been involved with India Biodiversity Portal and other citizen science initiatives, Geeta, who works with Season Watch, Vijay Barve, who anchors the Diversity India group of citizen science projects, and Suneha, who previously you saw presenting, answering a quick query earlier. So it was quite a varied group, and we came together from different walks of citizen science. And to be honest, none of us, in spite of working with citizen science groups for most of our career, I mean, at least for myself, we had not really sat together and thought about what actually goes into the aspects of data gathering and citizen science as a science and how do we guide people to if you were giving advice, or if you were to help guide somebody to assemble or start a citizen science project, how do we go about that? And so it was a unique chance for us to kind of delve into these topics. And we kind of began by trying to look at an overview of the global citizen science papers out there, trying to summarize what goes on in citizen science research and citizen science data gathering, and was able to put this together. And so we kind of began with an introduction to what citizen science is all about, the types of citizen science, and the ways we can classify citizen science. And if you are into citizen science, it's quite an interesting thing. And I'm sure we've not captured everything that there is in citizen science, and kind of typecasting it into various groups, because there's huge variety in the way citizen science is conducted. And so we kind of had to limit our scope to biodiversity and kind of online citizen science mediums happening within India. So there's an introduction to citizen science and the ways citizen science can be classified and so on. But essentially, we wanted a framework to try and look into various aspects of citizen science, and we came across this broad high-level science data life cycle model put together by the US Geological Survey, and we kind of which kind of tells you that essentially in any data gathering exercise, any academic or scientific data gathering exercise, there is a planning stage in which you kind of assess what needs to be done while you're setting the project in motion. This is prior to collecting any data at all. And then there's an acquire stage through which you're actually doing the data collection. And this is followed by processing, analyzing, preserving, and finally publishing and sharing of the data. And so we've broken the toolkit into these kind of categories. And across these categories, there are certain cross-cutting elements such as metadata and documentation, and how to manage quality at every stage of the data gathering exercise. And finally, also while you're gathering data, what is essential to kind of ensure security and ensure that the data is backed up and available for posterity. And so we've kind of gone through this, defining what aspects to consider at each stage. Before the project, you can see that the toolkit is broken down into the plan stage, and in the plan stage there are identifying project goals, the modes of implementation, how to interact with or how to gather stakeholders and participants, and what to consider in terms of offline and online infrastructure, and so on. And also, every section has a small section of recommendations within it that kind of summarizes what we've discussed above. And if you just want a quick overview of what we've been talking about. And it goes on to look at things like standards, which very few initiatives in our country are currently considering, but is super important when it comes to kind of ensuring standardized structures across data formats and citizen science, and how to plan for this, and examples of citizen science projects which do this, or larger citizen science initiatives which already have some structure to their data gathering exercise, which you can utilize to ensure, if you can adopt that to utilize and ensure that your data is in a predefined standardized format. There are also other aspects such as data ownership. I'm sure a lot of us don't really pay much attention, or we don't think much about data ownership. What are the views of participants to data ownership, and ethically, what should we be doing as project proponents to ensure that expectations are met, and so on. And there's also this section on data accessibility, which again I'm sure we don't pay enough attention to, because citizen science is very strongly associated with open data, and and when you look at what open data is, there are very defined there are strong definitions about what should constitute open data and how we are actually following open data. Because just making data out there accessible is not open data. We need to ensure that data meets certain structures, certain formats which are easily utilizable, by humans as well as machines for whatever purpose is intended, by whoever wants to access it. And we've also tried to go into the ethical considerations in brief, but essentially there were 2 working groups, and we've left a lot of the ethical considerations for the diversity and inclusion working group to consider. But we've been able to summarize some, must consider points in the ethics. This the document has also time and again come back to what are the legal obligations, what are the standards we consider, also what are the legal obligations for people who run citizen science project. And in this context, we were quite thankful to have the participation of a team of legal experts from WCS who were able to assist us in reviewing the document, as well as kind of adding a section on privacy policies and the Indian legal context of the document. I think we're finally able to just summarize a whole set of recommendations and what is expected in future from citizen science in India. And I think it's turned out pretty good. And this whole document provides a very good overview of citizen science data considerations that need to be accounted both for projects that are about to come up in future, but also projects that are currently existing, and look into those and review, are we actually kind of considering these aspects, and how can we better adopt certain standards so that we're all working together, we're all on the same page, and we're talking in the same language across citizen science efforts in the country. And so I just want to thank all my, all the working group participants, as well as Akshata and, the organizing committee for having, giving us this opportunity to be involved in this process and put together this document. And it's been quite a revelation for myself to be able to review all this and apply it in the context of the India Biodiversity Portal and see if we are actually meeting, what we are stating in this document. This document is also available as a publication. When we reviewed it, one of our reviewers was Townsend Peterson, who is part of the editorial committee of the Biodiversity Informatics Journal of the Kansas University. And he kind of requested that this paper be also published in that journal. So a variation of this is also available in the Biodiversity Informatics Journal if you want to access it. Of course, you can access it here also in a slightly different format, in a more user-friendly format. So yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. Maybe some of my other teammates, Priya, Suneha, can also talk.
That's fantastic, Thomas. Really, congratulations. And I really want to thank you and everyone, Sneha and Priya and Geeta and also Jagannathan and Danapani for all being involved in this work. And you've done it out of really the passion that you have. And, we weren't giving you huge remuneration for this, right? So I'm really, really, really thankful on behalf of the organizing committee for the wonderful work you've done. And congratulations also on the publication of this effort. That shows how relevant it is. And I hope everyone at the conference uses this information, also expands on it. I hope we make a community of practice from this, where we iteratively improve the knowledge that has been put in this document, and maybe we can do some updates in the near future with further efforts that are being done. Thank you all very much. Please go to the Lounge channel and please ask the authors anything about the toolkit that you have questions about, and please do congratulate them for this fantastic work. Thank you so much for all that you've done for this community. At this point, I must sadly close this session. We are actually already underway on our poster session. So if you go to the poster session 1 channel in Discord, you'll be able to see and hear the posters that are there. That will go on for another 45 minutes or so, and then we will take a break, and we will be back at 2:15 for the next poster session, and that will go until 3 before a panel session. Thank you, everyone. Thanks to our working group. Thanks to all of our speakers. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day at the conference, my favorite conference of all. So thank you so much, and I will sign off now. Bye.
Thanks, Shaunak. Bye.